welcome back to another Just 5 Mins. The coughing in the background version. I've had a few health problems over the last couple of weeks. Well, a bit longer though, but anyway, who hasn't? Who's moaning and groaning about these things? I am, I suppose. Anyway, what have we got? More AI. And this time around, it's really sort of consumer AI app building. So we've covered a lot about and seen things like Windsurf AI and Cursor AI and GitHub Copilot. They're all sort of still IDEs, integration, development environments essentially. Now they're not complex to set up. It's nothing like that at all. But you do need a certain momentum to get going with that sort of stuff. So my good friend Tim Abel, sent me one called Loveable, which I had a quick little play, and this is one of those things where it's a complete online browser setup. You say what type of app you want, and it goes away and building it. Now, I haven't really played with Loveable as much as I probably need to, so I can't sort of comment on that too much at the moment, but I've played with something called Replit, or Replit, I don't know. And the one thing I can see for Replit is that there's no IDE technically. It's all online. You can even use it from a mobile device. But you can basically describe what you want, build an app, and away you go. But also, they're quite clever, Replit. They've also provided the deployment side of things, so you can deploy static deployments, where you've just got HTML sites or something like that. But you've actually got like actual VM deployments. So if you've got applications that are properly running on a server, that can do that. It can auto scale. I think they use things like Google GCP and stuff like that in the background. But they also do, they've done quite a clever thing with things like if you need a database, you could technically use whatever you want, but they've got things like they're using Postgres with another SaaS Postgres service called Neon, which I've had a little bit of a play in the past. It's essentially a SaaS-based version of Postgres that you don't have to manage, and you've got a nice Postgres database. So they've got all of that integration. You can build mobile apps. They've got tools to actually help you deploy mobile apps properly. So they've got the whole thing, and ultimately it's like everything. They've got a free version to start with. You can have up to 3 apps, and you've got so many credits. But a bit like all of the other services out there like this, they're around about $25 a month if you want to go for the the paid version, and there's a team version. So the idea is the code that you get generated, it is actually just code, whatever the code that you decide to build. But you can deploy to things like GitHub for source control and stuff like that. But you do need to be on, I think, a team plan to do private deployments, i.e. where you want to take the code and host it yourself and do what you will with it. But, I suppose on the plus side, if you're just someone who wants to build a little app and off you go, you don't have to think about hosting. It can do that for you. I suppose you've got to be a little bit careful because they've got their own sort of marketplace. They've got bounties where you can sell your apps, and other companies and people can ask for, raise a bounty because they've maybe developed certain applications so far, and then they need specific help. So, love it or hate it, here we are. We're real developers. I think it's going to be a weird world. There is a lot of this, where a lot of people are calling it slop software, where it's just reams of apps that virtually look identical and whatever. But at the same time, I suppose it is enabling sort of everyday people to, dabble and build apps, and maybe they'll build apps that make a lot of money. Who knows, and let's face it, it might even get people into actually then wanting to, learn and build software. I mean, who's to say where you should start these days? I think augmented development is the thing. I don't think, there's going to be many developers going forward that are pure developers anymore. They're going to have AI augmented development in the background there at some point. So Replit, like I say, there is a starter plan. You can build up to 3 apps. I've had a go, and I tried to build. I basically didn't specify the tech stack or anything. I just said, build me a mobile app that's like a quote app, where it's got a nice little image and a quote, and it rotates after maybe 20 seconds to another quote and things like that. Now, I didn't really put a lot of effort into it and patience, to be honest, but it sort of failed miserably. It ended up using React Native, which obviously is the probably reason it picked that was because that's quite a common thing for building mobile-based apps, maybe. Again, I thought I'd sort of prompted it reasonably well, but I couldn't get it to work. I tried. I said, it's still blank. But the thing is, one thing to say is that there's no... I didn't have to download an IDE. I didn't have to get signed up. I didn't have to do any command line things. It's got like an integrated, preview, and you can see it's actually doing stuff that would happen on a local machine. It's got, pulling in packages and dependencies. So it's actually very clever in the way that it's actually designed. But it's meant to show like a preview, and it's a very simple app. But I just could not get it to display anything. But that obviously is, I do really think it was down to me not giving myself enough time and maybe the patience to properly get this developed. Because I looked at a lot of, they've got thousands, I think millions maybe now, applications that have been built. So it does work. Loveable, I think, is the other option. Now, I will have to have a little play with that. I don't know how far Loveable goes with things like deployments and things like that. So, Replit seems to be a very all-encompassing platform. And again, you think how far we've come in just 2 or 3 years, really. It's weird, really, looking at this. Like, for $25 a month, if you want to go for the paid version, you can theoretically build any type of app, I think one thing I read recently, it's had quite a lot of focus, Replit. And I think Reid Hoffman, who was the co-founder of LinkedIn, actually spent a bit of time building a LinkedIn clone with Replit. And he was pretty blown away by it, apparently. So it does work. But like a lot of things, you have to sort of be specific, but also quite general. You have to sort of know what you want to build. But the other good thing with Replit, though, is that, they do deployments. You can deploy it privately, but you do have to be on a Teams plan to do that. They've got bounties, like I said, that you can sell and, help and sign up and earn some money if you want to. But they've also got templates as well. So instead of Replit sort of just choosing a tech stack for you, they do have a lot. They've got everything from Python, C++, Node, Rust, C#, you name it, React. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of game development stuff as well, which I haven't even tempted to be playing with yet, which would be quite interesting. So I don't know. It's a weird world, and it's all right for us to sit back and go, it's just going to be all these crazy applications, etc. But hey, it is giving, everyday people the ability to build their own app if they want, if they want to do that and host that app, get it used in production. yeah, you've got to watch out. If you're starting to do things like logins and capturing user information and such, you've got to be rather careful. And you've certainly got to be careful on the financial side, because your apps are going to start costing money to be hosted. But, you need to start from somewhere. Then I think as a whole environment that you haven't had to download anything, Replit certainly looks worthy of exploration, that, as far as I'm concerned, which, as I say, my first attempt failed miserably, but I didn't really put the effort into it, in fairness. And like I say, there are people who are building like flight simulators, for goodness sake. It's absurd. So anyway, that's what I've got for this time around. Yeah, just when you thought AI's got so crazy, it can't surely get any more crazy. And yes, it can. So anyway, well, take care. Have a good day, a week, whatever you're doing. And we'll catch you on the next one.